Making judgments about a range of texts. This is Teacher Donna, your teacher in English 10. Mastery of the learning competencies in the previous module is crucial in understanding the content of current module. In Module 5, for instance, you have learned how to evaluate different sources of information, particularly web and print sources. And in Module 6, you employed analytical listening to understand information and solve problems. In this current module, you will need to tap on these skills to be able to evaluate and make judgments about a range of texts. These are literary texts and informational texts. Literary texts are fictional pieces such as poems, epic, and short stories. Informational texts are non-fiction writing such as essays, newspaper articles, reference books, and the like. As you begin to expand your choices of text to read, you also become more critical of the content of what you are reading, noting that great literary texts are not always about happy endings, remarkable feats, superpowers, and adventures. Likewise, in informational text, you will learn to evaluate arguments, evidence, and biases, and you will find yourself either agreeing with the writer or questioning his writing. Being able to do all this means that you are on the right track towards becoming a successful reader. Successful reading involves retrieving, interpreting, integrating, reflecting, and evaluating information. Retrieving is when you identify information that is relevant to the specific goal of reading and looking for specific ideas. For interpreting, it is constructing a more specific or more complete understanding of the text. Integrating is incorporating personal knowledge and experience with meaning that resides in the text. Reflecting is paraphrasing and restating the words in the text. Evaluating information is when you critically think about the reliability, validity, accuracy, authority, timeliness, point of view, or bias of information given. That is why, to be able to really appreciate what a story or an essay offers, you need to move beyond being a passive reader and become critical consumer of text. You have to read between and beyond the lines in order to mine treasures hidden in any piece of writing. Let us identify what comprises text. For your activity, identify the correct word described in each sentence by rearranging the jumbled letters given. Number 1. It is usually an insight about life that is reflected in a narrative as its main subject. The answer is theme. It is usually an insight about life that is reflected in a narrative as its main subject. Number 2. It is one sentence statement of the main point or arguments in an essay. Thesis. Number 3. This refers to the opposition of forces or the problem which will keep the plot moving. Conflict. This refers to the opposition of forces or the problem which will keep the plot moving. Number 4. This is a body of supporting factual details such as expert statement, research findings, and examples. Evidence. Evidence is a body of supporting factual details such as expert statement, research findings, and examples. And number 5, these are the actors or actresses in a work of fiction who embody recognizable and relatable human traits. Characters. These are the actors or actresses in a work of fiction who embody recognizable and relatable human traits. Were you able to identify the following? These are the things that you're going to look into in reading informational texts and literary texts. As mentioned earlier, you will be introduced to both literary and informational text in this module, You can probably think of many kinds of literary text, but among the genre that young readers like you are most exposed to are short stories, particularly its subgenre, the myth. A myth is an ancient story created to explain natural events, present a lesson on how to live, or serve as warning to follow the rules of the society. Many readers prefer short stories because they can be read in one sitting. Their plots are usually easy to follow and the characters are interesting. However, these criteria are superficial. What a critical reader must look for in short story or in a myth are the following: the setting, the characters, the plot, conflict, and the theme. In a short story, we look at the setting. It plays an important role in advancing the plot as well as in character development. What does a powerful setting do to a text? It transports the reader into the story by appealing to all the senses. In a story, characters are well drawn and well developed. The reader should find them relatable in terms of values they embody and the principles they live by. The plot of the story is original and not predictable. It should be interesting enough for the reader to find himself drawn to it. Also, the plot is best enhanced by literary techniques such as suspense, foreshadowing, flashback, cliffhanger, and plot twist. There should also be interesting conflict that will move the plot. It should clearly show how the opposing forces confront one another and how it can be resolved. The story should have a relevant theme, one that provides profound insights about life. The theme is generally timeless, which means that it will remain true for different generations of readers and across different backgrounds. Myths generally share the same characteristics with short stories, but they differ in terms of added features such as having gods and goddesses as characters, heroes possessing special abilities, and humans transforming into different creatures. Specifically, these are the characters to look for in a myth. The characters are comprised of a hero with special skills, monsters who play the villain, gods and goddesses who may help, reward, or punish the hero. The hero must be a well drawn character, showing relatable traits while displaying great feats. The plot and conflict usually revolve around the hero's adventure or quest, and his success or failure will determine whether he is really a true hero. One of the common twists in the plot of a myth is metamorphosis, or the transformation of a character into different creatures such as a bird, a monster, or a plant. These transformations are, of course, because of the gods. The plot may also present a tradition or local belief of the community where the myth originated. The setting plays a very important role in helping the readers visualize the hero's environment, especially during his quest. It should be very vivid for the reader to picture places such as the underworld, the forest, or the abode of the gods. The myth should leave the readers with a life lesson, anchored on the general theme that good deeds are rewarded and evil is punished. The lessons are usually about moral conduct. Well, are you now convinced that there are certain qualities to look for in a good literary text? But what does it take to convince you to believe or to do or not do something? You would probably ask for evidences such as facts, experts' opinions, testimonies, and effective persuasive techniques. All these are components of a persuasive text. You would probably ask for evidences such as facts, experts' opinions, testimonies, and effective persuasive techniques. All these are components of a persuasive text. Persuasive essay refers to the kind of writing which presents reasons and examples to effect thought and action. Persuasive essay requires the clear statement of an opinion and reasons or specific examples to support the said opinion. With the intention to persuade or convince the readers, the writers usually follow this structure. 1 is to state your thesis. Number 2 is to enumerate set of reasons. Number 3 is to present your evidences. And number 4 is to give your conclusion. Let us look at it one by one. Number 1 is the statement of the thesis or the theme or topic of an argument. It usually presents a controversial topic and the writer's stand about it. A good thesis should state a truth. Example is, divorce is not allowed in the Philippines. So that is a statement of truth because in the Philippines, divorce is not allowed. Number 2, it should advocate a cause of action. Example, English should be used as a medium of instruction in all public and private institutions. Likewise, the thesis should be something that can be proven. Number 2, enumeration of a set of reasons supporting the thesis. This part elaborates on the necessity of the proposal, its advantages, and workability. Number 3, presentation of evidences that substantiate the reasons and strengthen the thesis. Evidences and arguments must be laid down carefully for a persuasive effect. They should appeal to reason or logic, to ethics, and to emotions. Number 4, conclusion, which reinforces the thesis and calls for action. These parts are interrelated, but the value and effectiveness of persuasive essays rely heavily on arguments. This is why, as a critical reader, you need to know how to evaluate arguments before you can say that the text is convincing or not. An easy way to do this is to remember the acronym TELS: thesis, evidence, logic, language, and style, and ask the following questions. Thesis. Is it specific and reasonable? Does it clearly present only the scope that needs to be proven? Evidence. Are there varied range of evidences from credible sources such as scientific studies, expert testimonies, statistics, personal anecdotes, or a short amusing or interesting story about a real incident or person? Are they verifiable? Do the evidences strengthen the argument? Logic. Are the analogy or comparisons or conclusions clear and vivid? Are opposing views acknowledged and countered, refuted to minimize the writer's personal bias? Language and style. Is the writing style and tone suited for the subject or topic and the intended audience? Are the word choice and language appropriate? So, as a critical reader, you should know how to evaluate arguments before concluding that a text is convincing or not. Bye. See you again next time.